Hello, everybody, and welcome to another SIG Windows meeting. It's the 14th of July. As always, these are recorded meetings, so please adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct. Hope that everybody's doing well. I know it's the latter stages of the 1.19 release. I know we're kind of marching towards a set of deadlines here, and hopefully all of you are tracking well on that. We'll try to kind of take a little bit of stock of where we are as well here. So I know that some of you are already typing up furiously right now, adding some notes to our agenda today. Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate that. So let's take a look at where we are here. Give me a second. Let me share my screen. All right, you should all be seeing my screen now. Okay, so the first thing I want us to take a look at is the dates. So the current dates have us on July 16th, which is in 2 days, is the docs must be completed and reviewed. So I know we have some docs that James is driving. We have some docs that Muzz is driving. Um, uh, if there are any folks that are basically listed as reviews, please go ahead and review those. I know I have one of them for Container D that I need to take a look at, and I had already taken a look at the networking one that David had created. But please flag them if there's any docs that folks need to review and they're not in our agenda for today. All right, so let's go to our notes really quickly. So I wanted to, okay, so one second, let me excel the changes here. So last week we talked a little bit about the cherry picks. They're all approved now. So we had a conversation with the release team. All the cherry picks are now in, all 4 of them. One of them was Claudio, asked by Claudio, and the rest of them were the cherry picks that basically fix certain issues downstream. So done. Cool. Let's talk a little bit about version 1.19, where we are. Endpoint slices. David, are you on? Sorry, when I'm sharing my screen, I can't see everybody. David or Dinesh?
Yeah. So for the docs, I think we were discussing marking this as supported and documenting it as supported once we confirmed that it's been validated and it works on Windows. I think we're still waiting on those test results to come back. I don't know if, given there's only 2 days for the docs to be completed, this might not be specifically mentioned in our docs and might need to slip. But the docs that are on Linux, I mean, they also work on Windows.
Yep.
And I don't think it's like a blocking feature necessarily. So maybe it's not too bad if it slips.
Yeah.
I
So
wanted to discuss this.
I completely agree with you, David. Since the Linux ones already don't call out saying this doesn't work on Windows, then we're fine. So I think it's the first validation. I mean, the problem will only occur if we try to validate and it doesn't work. Then we need to call it out, that's saying this is Linux only.
Yeah. I mean, there was some validation done of it already, but I don't think it would be good to have like conformance tests. Or they're not conformance tests, but they're end-to-end tests. If we could get those to run on Windows, then I think we should be pretty comfortable.
Cool. Thank you. And David, I don't know if Maz reached out, but we would like 1 or 2 slides on the endpoint slices and some of the other networking. Was it DSR or DF? DSR, I think it's called.
DSR. Yeah.
DSR. So a couple slides on DSR and endpoint slices for the Kubicon presentation. If you can provide those, that'd be great. Like what happened there, advanced from there.
Yeah, I'll reach out to you, David. I haven't reached out to them, but I will sync up with you this week.
Cool. Thank you. Appreciate it, Maz.
Yeah.
All right, Container D, Maz.
Yeah, so I looked at the documentation. It's looking pretty good. There was one thing that I think James is going to update, where the documentation on um, how to create a package for Containerd and install it. I don't think it's part of that documentation. So
Mm-hmm.
that is documented. It's just should be either linked or um like be copied here. I think James is going to work on that. The other thing I was looking at is like how much information we need to provide for Containerd. I think we have enough information. We don't need to go too deep. So I think we're in good shape as long as we have some kind of instructions on how to do it.
Cool.
Yeah, so I started to add the docs for how to configure it and install it. It's taking me a little bit longer than I thought. And so my question is, do we need to have those in to this PR? And will that affect, because it's only 2 days away, getting approvals and tech reviews? Or if I had it in by the end of the day today, or what's
Yeah,
kind of...
if you have it by the end of the day today, it should be fine. I think when they say docs must be completed and reviewed, that's the completion date from the SIG, right? I mean, the docs, like as long as we agree that everything is good by July 16th, then the rest of the team from the docs SIG is gonna go look at them. So as long as you have them ready and you, me, Maz, everybody else agrees that they're good, then we're fine.
Okay, so then I'll finish up adding the how to configure and install it, and then I was putting that in with the other Container D docs. Is that the right place? There's another section of docs where it says to install, how to install Container D, and I was going to add a tab to that. This section.
Do you want to share?
Yeah, let me.
Let me stop the
Fine.
sharing so you can share if you want to show us.
Sure. I just have to find the Zoom meeting. I don't think I've shared from Zoom before. I don't know.
It's the green button in the middle, bottom window.
Host disabled participant screen share.
Oh, you know what? They added all these moderation features. So give me a second, James. They added moderation features because they had trolls. So you're a co-host now, so you should be able to share. Yeah, there was a troll that showed up in one of some other community meetings and started, sharing things that were inappropriate. So the Kubernetes contributor team disabled sharing for anybody that's not the host.
Got it. So I was, so this is the section for installing and configuring Containerd for Ubuntu and CentOS. And so I was going to add another tab here for Windows.
Perfect.
And I was going to base it off of how we install it for AKS Engine, which is what we're using for the upstream tests. So I've started that, but it's just taking a little bit longer because I can't quite copy paste the stuff out of AKS Engine.
So is it going to be specific to AKS Engine, or could someone take that documentation to install on any node?
It's going to be, I'm generalizing it. That's so it'll be how to go get the package, how to install the service, and how to set up the configuration for being able to run process isolated Containerd.
Perfect. Yeah, I think this is going to help a lot. And these are also going to, since we're graduating Containerd to beta, I think this is exactly where folks are going to come and look for it, how to install it. So.
Okay, cool. Then I'll ping everybody once I have it done today.
Thank you. Appreciate it,
James. Done doing it. Yep. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Other than that, Michael,
Maz, I'm assuming you're going to review that, right? So you don't have time to review. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'll review that. And then other than that, everything else like about Containerd is looking good. So we should be good.
Cool. So essentially, is there any PR that didn't make the code freeze from Containerd or even the work around the networking that David mentioned earlier? Or did all our PRs make it in?
I think all of them made it, as far as I know. David, do you know of any PRs?
For docs PRs, mine is still open.
No, no, not the docs, the code PRs, for the
Oh,
code
code
freeze.
pairs. Sorry. No, I think they all made it in here.
Okay, sounds good.
I know
Excellent.
there's one or two tests that were failing just as of today that Adelina was looking into.
Okay. We should be able to cherry picking bug fixes. So, I mean, this is in the stabilization period right now. So, if you guys try to make, if anybody tries to make bug fixes and they're not getting approved in time, let me know. Part of the process is, attending release team meetings, so they can actually flag it and say, this is important, we need to fix it, it needs to go in for SIG Windows. So if you have such a bug fix that's found that we need to check in after code freeze, please ping me privately on Slack. We will attend SIG release meetings together and try to get them approved. We have to basically make a business case why they should go in. All right, next one is 2004 update. Adelina, did you add that, or was it someone from Microsoft test grid for Windows Server 2004?
No, not me.
Yeah, it was me for this one, James. So,
okay.
So I've added the test grid. There's about 8 failing tests, and working with Adelina and Claudio, we identified that it was just because the images were not 2004. And so I think Claudio pushed the last couple that needed the 2004 images this morning. And so hopefully tomorrow we'll have a test pass on that. And then there's one for the authenticated image that Claudio had said there's a workaround. So I'm going to be working on that probably tomorrow after I finish the docs.
So, but these are just test fails, no, not anything else. Sounds good, thank you.
Correct.
Excellent,
so
thank
I guess
you.
the question is are we going to include that in support for 119?
Yeah, I mean, our original goal was to, let me actually see. I thought we actually said that in this PR.
Yeah, it is marked there. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's our goal.
Excellent.
Cool. So it's 1809, 1909, 2004.
Yep.
All right.
The latest 2SAC and 1 LTSC.
Yeah. CSI supported Windows. Deep, welcome back. How are you?
Yeah, doing good. So yeah, this is continuing. So we have all the Go binding support for some of the more tricky stuff that PowerShell does not surface. Kalia did quite an awesome job on that. So all that is in. The remaining portion there is to just bump the API version from V1 alpha to V1 beta and add, like we are planning to tweak one API around the page 83 support that Kalia worked on to be exposed through the V1 beta API set.
Are we good to bump this to beta across the board from a stability standpoint? You and the team are happy with where we are?
I think from Azure, like both Azure and GCPD have been testing it for quite a while, and I think they haven't run into any major issues. So the main reason we are doing the slight API tweak is to kind of make it more generic. It's not just something that satisfies GCPD's requirements, but kind of make it broader.
Okay, very cool. So we're basically three big features for 119 for Windows is the endpoint slices, DSR, container D going beta, CSI support going beta. Oh, CSI proxy.
Yeah, right. I mean, the overall CSI support. So things that won't make it in is like we wanted to do a lot of like full CI/CD pipelines for CSI support across all the CSI sidecars. So that's not going to happen for beta. That'll be in GA. Mainly this affects the node driver registrar sidecar. So all that packaging is done, but the CI aspect of that will not be ready. But I think we all decided that that's probably okay. Yeah, we are also getting some requests for other things, like, hey, can we get like this API or that API from other CSI developers, which is nice, which shows that people are interested. But again, like, we'll probably take some of those requests more into GA, going into GA in the final V1 piece of the API.
Got it. That makes sense. Thank you, Deep.
So for this change, can you rolling upgrade the change, or is it a breaking change?
So this is not going to be a breaking change. Basically, we'll have just like Kubernetes kind of have like all the APIs will be versioned. So the older API will continue to be supported, and that'll be exposed over a certain name pipe saying V1 Alpha 1. The new APIs will be exposed over its own API pipe, which would be V1 Beta 1. Dash disk, dash file, things like that. So the idea is we continue to support multiple API versions with the same proxy binary, and we'll have a deprecation schedule similar to Kubernetes, which is we announce we are going to deprecate something. If it's beta or GA, for alpha, there are no guarantees. And then after we declare it, we will go and remove it at some point, that specific API version.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
All right, the next topic is topics on storage. The first one is we actually had a team of folks to try out Velero, which is a backup and recovery tool, and tried out with Windows containers. I have both good and bad data, and I'll kind of outline them here. So for stateless apps, it works 100%. So that's great. For non-stateless apps, if there's persistent volumes, for example, vSphere volume or GCP disk or Azure file or Azure disk, it doesn't work, and there's a couple of reasons behind it. Velero uses a technology called Restic for basically being able to create a sidecar pod and use host path to extract all the data that's basically attached to a Kubernetes container and a pod. And the problem is that, Restic obviously doesn't understand Windows very well. So my team went ahead and rebuilt Restic for Windows, and they basically built some Velero containers for Windows. And when Restic basically mounted the volumes, every volume shows up in a different drive letter, but within the pod, you don't have access to that drive. It basically gets mounted on the Windows host as a different drive, and you have no access of that. So unless we actually go and modify Restic to actually work for Windows, so it understands that when you mount something, you have to create first, you might have to have elevated permissions to be able to mount the volume, but basically mount the extra drive into the location where you are so you can ingest the data. This won't work. A few folks that I have on this, they'll look into it a little bit more and see if there's anything smart you can do. The second thing that we could do is around CSI, there's this effort around creating CSI Snapshot, the CSI Snapshot API that went to beta with 1.18. And once we actually get, we might be able to try CSI plus Windows plus the snapshot capability, as long as a provider implemented it, and that could offer us a seamless way to be able to back up and restore Windows containers with Kubernetes. So Deep, since we're like really at the end of 1.19, I don't want to kind of bring this up, but maybe that's something that we can explore later on. Maybe spend the day trying this out. I can put you in contact with the Velero folks and see if we can mock something like that up and see if it works.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that should work out. In fact, I was about to interrupt you saying, "Oh, what about CSI snapshots?"
Yeah.
But great that that's already in the radar. I think most of that is plumbed through the CSI cluster controllers, not the node side of it. So it should not be dependent on CSI proxy. Like, it should just work.
Yeah. So
but we need to explore it and test.
Yeah. We just need to have someone just try it out. So
Yep.
I have a couple of folks from the Velero team. If you all can work together, I think that, like you having a cluster with CSI up and running, everything ready, and they can come in and bring Velero. You guys can pair a little bit. I think we should be able to get it up and running, and they can document it.
Sounds good.
The second issue, so Deep, since we have it, sorry for whoever added the GMSA, let me add a couple more things here really quickly. That the ticket that on the device manager, did that ever make it in or not? The RNUDS issue with the device manager changes.
I'll have to look that up.
Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, this is a change here. It looks like I might have missed 119 too, so people are gonna be, yeah, it's still open.
Yikes. Okay. Dang.
All right, so
yeah, there were some test failures that were never addressed. And I think the PR needed a rebase as well.
I think he rebased it.
Oh, he did. Okay.
He did rebase it. Yeah, I think, okay, can you take a look and see if, like, we may be able to actually get it in, even though it's,
Okay.
it missed the 119.
Sure.
We might be able to go make an exceptional case.
Okay.
Okay, so he has failing test still.
Right. Yeah, it's mainly like I should disk test it. Okay, I'll try to take a look.
Okay, do you want me to send you the link or you have it?
No, I got it. It's
All
0.
right, cool.
917.
Cool.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. All right. Next item, GMSA network access issue. Who added that?
Yeah, that's me, Michael. So basically, so when we were testing the GMSA for Containerd, initially the conformance tests were passing and we were happy. But when we actually started trying it on AKS engine working, we saw that there was an issue where we were not able to access the SMB share on the domain. And that was causing the credentials not getting passed. So when we looked at it, the way Containerd access the network compartment in the OS versus Docker, the code path is a little bit different, and there is an OS bug there where we need to fix how this is going to get for Containerd, how this is going to work. So I think the reason we wanted to bring it up is Craig, James, and I thought to bring that up because it feels like if someone is using it for GMSA this way, there is that limitation. It's not fully covered in the upstream test. So we probably need to update the upstream tests for GMSA to do some kind of SMB share. And the other update is, since it is an OS change, we are trying to fix it as soon as possible with, in 2004 and then backporting it to RS5 and 19H1 and 19H2. Just wanted to bring it up to everyone's knowledge.
Quick question, like for example, SMB shares didn't work, but for example, if you have a database and you called it to an Active Directory account, would that work? Is it specific only to SMB shares, or are we going to have identity issues on other areas as well?
That's my belief, that if you have to use the SMB share or some kind of network access, then this is going to fail. If you are not dependent on it, this will not fail.
So, but I mean, if folks are enabling GMSA, they're enabling it for the specific reason of being able to carry the identity on the network and get the ACK called to something. So
that's true.
So I think so. Ideally, GMSA basically we're saying it doesn't work for Containerd.
Correct. Until this issue is backported, and again, this is not need to be backported in Containerd or Kubernetes. This is in the OS.
Okay, so can we actually add that to the documentation for Containerd to make sure that people know that it's a known limitation that the GMSA work will not work for now? Okay. And then once we actually backport the changes, we can go back and say, if you're running on this version of the OS with this patch level, it will work.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, I'll add that.
We need to document it. Otherwise, beta indicates that, it's not GA quality, but all the functionality pretty much works. And this is a major gap.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's why we wanted to bring it up. And this is exactly what Craig Peter said, that, hey, we should document this probably because this is gonna get backported. It's just a matter of like documenting, and once it's backported, we will update it.
Yep. Perfect. Excellent. Thank you.
I also forwarded the section around GMSA and the docs to Maz and SIG Windows. So if you can update it there as well, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll update it in both places, in Containerd and is GMSA.
Awesome.
I'll do the PR today, hopefully. I'll work with James a little bit.
Yeah, Maz, I think we can just add that into the PR that we have open for the container.
Okay, let me ping you after the call.
Yeah. Put them all in one PR, otherwise docs folks are gonna come after us.
Okay.
All right, cool. Kubelet not starting pod issue 93061. Who added that?
Yeah, that's me. So basically 7 hours ago, there was a merge in Kubernetes that broke kubelet on Windows. I'm fixing it as we speak. It's not a big deal. Basically, it just sends this, it defaults to this, what's it called? No new privileges security flag for Docker shim, which Windows does not support. So we just exclude that from Windows. Should be pretty straightforward. Also, there was another PR that did the same thing in Kube runtime, but there it seems to be fine for Windows because it just added it to the Linux pod sandbox config.
So how did this PR get merged if our tests were failing?
Well, they didn't. The PR merged and the test will fail sometime now, soon.
Oh, okay. No, I was talking about the first time, the recent merge that the first you said that the broke Kubernetes on Windows with a new flag. So that didn't cause our test to fail?
Well, it didn't yet because it just merged 6 hours ago and we don't have PR tests.
Yeah, it's not a PR gating test.
Okay,
right?
got it. Perfect. All right. Thank you. All right, so quick note here, this is from Maz. The backlog meeting is bi-weekly, Thursdays, 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific. Maz, did you send invites yet? I don't remember seeing it.
No, I just wanted to announce first because, the community has spoken. This is what we got the most votes for. So just wanted to bring that. And I'll work with you, Michael, on how we send the invites and what Zoom to use. I don't know. So
yeah,
I can probably work with you.
Yeah, just let me know. We can actually send the invite from our Zoom account. So let me know when you're ready. Give me the content, and I'll send the invite from the Zoom.
Right. I was just thinking we can start beginning of August kind of thing. So we have a little bit of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
I know we're out of time, folks. Who added this 92963 issue? Is it something that we can take a look at next week? This says Windows.
So I think somebody put it on the chat. I think we're run as user not working for POS containers. It does work for Linux. It does not work for Windows.
I think they wanted the run as user to bubble into the POS container, right?
Correct.
That's what their thing was.
Is it related to it not being privileged containers?
Hello.
Hi.
This issue added by me, and I tested that the sandbox when I didn't run as username at work on Windows.
So what you can do is, Deep, since you're kind of shepherding some of the run as username, can you take a look at this and maybe we can, I know we're out of time today, maybe we can discuss this next week and see if we can figure out what's going on there. I'll move it to next week.
Cool.
Okay,
everybody, we're out of time. Thank you for attending.
I'll comment on it.
We'll discuss this next week. That way we don't lose it. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.